My neighbor knew I worked nights. Still, he blasted his garage speakers every morning. When I asked him to turn it down, he said, "Sleep somewhere else." I did for 3 weeks. Then I took a day off work and waited. What I did next made him call the cops. I live in a small cul-de-sac in Dayton, Ohio. Quiet area for the most part. Families, retirees, a few couples who mind their business. I work third shift at a 24-hour diner just outside the city. 11 at night to about 8 in the morning, give or take. I come home dead tired, maybe grab a cup of cereal, and I'm usually in bed by 9. That's when Jerry starts his concerts. Jerry's my neighbor. Mid-40s, loud as hell, no wife, no job I can figure out. All I know is that around 9 a.m., almost like clockwork, he fires up these massive subwoofers in his garage. Classic rock, country, sometimes club music, always at full blast, garage door wide open like he's playing a show for the block. At first I thought maybe it was a one-off thing. Maybe he was testing out equipment or having a rough morning. But it wasn't. It was every day. I let it slide for a while. Figured maybe he didn't realize how loud it was. I mean, people can be inconsiderate without realizing they're being a pain. I tried using earplugs. Didn't work. My walls would still rattle with the bass. It was like trying to sleep in a goddamn nightclub. After about 2 weeks of this, I caught him in his driveway. I said, "Hey, Jerry, not trying to start anything, man, but I work nights. The music in the mornings, it's making it hard for me to sleep." He looked me dead in the face, didn't even blink, and said, "Sleep somewhere else." I just stared at him for a second, thought he was joking. "You serious?" "Yeah," he said. "This is my property. I can play music if I want. Ain't my problem you work nights." He turned and walked back into his garage like that was the end of the conversation. I didn't yell. Didn't cuss him out. I just walked back inside, lay down in bed, and listened to the thump of his speakers until my brain gave up and shut off. That was the last day I tried to reason with him. Instead, I packed a duffel bag and went to stay at my sister's place across town. She's got a small apartment, but it's quiet. I needed to sleep, or I was going to lose my job. Or my mind. For 3 weeks, I stayed with her. Came home every few days to grab mail and clean up, but I never stayed the night. Every time I pulled into my driveway, I could still hear the music. He was still doing it. Even when I wasn't home, he kept it up. Like he wanted me to know he was in control. I started planning while I was gone. Not right away. At first, I just wanted it to stop. But the more I thought about what he said, "Sleep somewhere else," the more it stuck in my chest like a splinter I couldn't dig out. So I took a day off. Called in a vacation day I'd been saving. Drove home at 6 a.m. and parked down the street. My sister picked me up, and we waited in her car around the corner, watching his garage from a distance. At 8:45 a.m., right on time, the garage door opened. The speakers came on, loud as hell. I could feel it from where we were parked. That's when I walked back to my house, went inside, waited for the music to build to full volume, and then I walked over to his driveway. He wasn't in the garage yet. I saw the cord running out from a heavy-duty outdoor timer, plugged into an extension that led straight to the speaker setup. The whole thing was automated. I flipped the timer switch, unplugged the cord, wrapped it tight, and stuffed it into my jacket. Then I knocked on his front door. He opened it wearing a t-shirt with some beer brand logo and a look like I'd just spit in his coffee. "What?" "Music's off," I said. "You'll find her power cord at the police station later." He looked past me, saw the speakers quiet, looked back at me and snapped, "You touch my stuff? You blasted music for weeks. I asked you once. You told me to sleep somewhere else. So I did. And now I'm home. You stole from me. I unplugged your system. That's it." He started yelling. I pulled out my phone, already recording. "I'm calling the cops," he shouted. "You should." He did. And when the officers showed up, I was already waiting with the footage, the text I'd sent him, and a printed copy of our town's noise ordinance, highlighted. The cops pulled up around 9:15 a.m. 2 cruisers, lights off but quick. One officer came to me, The other walked toward Jerry, who was pacing in his driveway like he was the one who got wronged. The officer near me was a younger guy, maybe late 20s. Calm voice, hands on his belt, polite but tired. "You the one who called it in?" I shook my head. No, that was him. But I'm the one who unplugged the system. His eyebrows went up a little. Mind explaining? I handed him my phone, already open to the recording I took earlier that morning. He watched for a full minute, the bass pounding through the garage, me asking Jerry to turn it down weeks ago, and his response, "Sleep somewhere else." I had the text too. One to my sister, time-stamped the first morning I left. "Can I crash for a while?" Jerry's still at it. Date and time matched the audio. I gave him the copy of the city noise ordinance too. Highlighted section. Sound amplifying equipment shall not exceed reasonable volume levels in residential areas during quiet hours of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and must not create a disturbance to surrounding residents at any time. You live next door to him? I nodded. Third shift. Diner off Patterson Road. I get off work around 8 a.m. every day. He starts this by 9. Every single morning. He looked at the phone again, then turned to his partner. They talked for a minute. Meanwhile, Jerry was still yelling. "He stole my damn cable. You just gonna let that slide?" The officer talking to him held a hand up. "Sir, we're looking into it. That's private property. You can't touch another man's stuff." I didn't say anything. I just stood there. The younger cop came back to me. "Here's the deal. Technically, you can't unplug and take his cord. That's considered tampering. But given the evidence and the fact that you didn't damage anything, we're not going to press charges." I nodded. "That's fair. But if he wants to pursue it further, we'll need a written statement from both of you." He's already saying he wants to file. Jerry was pacing again, arms flailing. "Damn right I'm filing. This guy's crazy." Then the officer said something I didn't expect. "Do you want to file a noise complaint?" I looked him straight in the eye and said, "Yeah." "Ido." So I did. In writing. Everything documented, dates, times, recordings, the fact I left my own house for 3 weeks, just to sleep. The officer gave me a copy and told me to keep the cord off his property, bring it in if needed. I thanked him and walked back to my house. An hour later, I got a knock at the door. Not the cops this time, Jerry. He didn't yell. He looked uncomfortable, like he wanted to say something, but didn't know how. "Look," he started. "You made your point. I'll keep the music down." I waited. "That it?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah. Just return the cord. We'll call it even." I said nothing. Just closed the door. I didn't bring the cord back. Instead, I returned to work the next night, rested for the first time in a month. The next morning, silence. No music. Not even a peep. But I wasn't done yet. For the first few days after that, things were quiet. I'd come home from the diner, drink my coffee in the kitchen, and just listen. Not to music, but to the silence. It was strange how loud it felt at first, like my brain was still expecting the thump of bass to come pounding through the drywall. But nothing. Just birds. A lawnmower a few blocks over. That was it. It felt like I'd won something. Like I'd taken a piece of my life back. But I didn't trust it. I've worked nights for 7 years. I've seen people make promises just to save face. Jerry was that type. His sudden quiet didn't feel like peace. It felt like retreat. Like a pause before he came back with something worse. So I stayed alert. Set up a cheap security cam pointed at his garage. Bought a decibel meter off Amazon. I wasn't paranoid, I was preparing. Because when someone shows you who they are and then tries to act like they didn't mean it, you don't let your guard down. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, it started again. Not the full volume blasts like before. That would have been too obvious. No, Jerry got clever. He set the speakers on low, but aimed them directly at my bedroom wall. Barely audible from the street, but just enough inside my house to keep me from sleeping. It was the same song. Over and over. Sweet Home Alabama. Played 3 times in a row, every morning at 8:57 a.m. 3 days in a row. I knocked on his door on the 4th. He didn't answer, but I knew he was inside. I could hear the click of the volume knob going up half a notch when I turned to walk away.
He was testing me.
Seeing how far he could go without crossing a legal line. So I went back to the footage, logged the decibel readings, and added it all to my report. I contacted the same officer from last time, sent him the new recordings, timestamps, a written statement. He emailed me back. Thanks for the update. We'll make note. Let us know if it escalates. But I knew police weren't going to fix this. Not for real. I needed to go further. So I started asking around. Talked to one of the older neighbors down the street, Mr. Riley. Retired plumber. Been here 40 years. I asked him if he ever had problems with Jerry. He laughed. That guy?
Hell yeah.
Had to call code enforcement on him once. He was running some kind of ATV repair thing out of his garage a few summers ago. Said it was a hobby, but he had customers pulling up every weekend. My ears perked up. You think he's still doing that? He shrugged. Wouldn't surprise me. You ever smell gas coming from that place? I had. A few times. Thought it was lawn equipment. That's when I knew where to hit him. That night, after my shift, I didn't go straight home. I parked a block away and walked the long way back, past Jerry's house, slow and quiet. No music, no lights in the garage, but there was something else, an oil stain in the driveway.
Fresh. Wide.
Next day, same thing. A different car in front of his house, this time a beat-up Nissan with no plates on the front. Hood open. Jerry and some other guy standing beside it, talking low. I stayed behind my curtains, camera recording. I wasn't trying to catch him fixing cars. I was trying to catch him making money off it. The next weekend, it happened again. Same setup. New car.
New guy.
20 minutes later, Jerry walked him to his car and handed him what looked like paperwork. The man handed him cash. I caught that part. Crisp and clear on the camera. That was all I needed. I contacted city code enforcement first. Told them I had reason to believe someone on my street was running an unlicensed auto repair operation out of a residential garage. They sent me a form. I filled it out. Attached the footage. Gave them times, dates, license plates. I even printed screenshots and dropped them off in person at the local office, just to make sure it didn't get lost. Then I called the IRS tip line. Didn't have to give my name. Just told them everything I'd seen. Unlicensed repairs, cash payments, likely unreported income, happening at least twice a week for the past month. A week later, the city sent an inspector. Jerry got a notice taped to his front door. He ripped it off and threw it into the yard, but I already had a photo. 2 days after that, the music stopped again. But I didn't stop. I kept logging everything. Every car. Every visitor. Every minute that garage door was open. I printed everything and kept it in a folder. Then came the day when 3 unmarked vehicles pulled into the cul-de-sac at 9 a.m. sharp. City code, 1 man with a clipboard. Another from the county health department. And a third guy in a dress shirt and black slacks who never introduced himself, but had federal plates on his car. I stood in my living room window, sipping coffee, watching Jerry's face as they talked to him on the porch. He looked small, sweating. One of them pointed to the garage. Another one pointed at the ground. Then they all walked in together. They were in the garage for almost an hour. I watched from my living room, blinds tilted just enough. The guy from City Code came out first. He had his phone in one hand and a binder in the other. He looked annoyed. The second guy from health or zoning or whatever followed close behind. He kept shaking his head. Jerry trailed them out, arguing. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I could guess. Something about it not being a real business, just helping friends, maybe a few small repairs. Didn't matter. They weren't buying it. Then the third guy came out, the one with the federal plates. No expression. He didn't say a word to Jerry. Just walked to his car, wrote something on a clipboard, and drove off. Jerry stood in his driveway for a long time after that, hands on his hips, pacing in little circles. By noon, his garage door was shut. That was new. He used to leave it open all day. Loud music, tools clanging, junk everywhere. Now it was dead quiet. The next day, A bright orange sticker appeared on the side of his garage. Notice of violation, unauthorized use of residential property. He ripped it off before most neighbors could see, but I got a picture of it first. Time-stamped.
Printed.
Added to the folder. And still, I waited. I didn't see him for a few days. No music.
No repairs.
No visitors. Just silence. I thought maybe it was over. Maybe the inspectors scared him straight. I even let myself sleep without earplugs for the first time in months. But I should have known better. One night, I was walking home from my shift just after 8 a.m. I took the long way like I used to before all this started. That's when I saw it. Jerry standing next to his truck at the end of his driveway, holding his phone, facing my house. I kept walking.
Didn't look at him.
But I knew what he was doing. Sure enough, later that morning, I got a knock at the door. 2 cops. Sir, your neighbor reported you for trespassing and theft. I blinked. What? They said Jerry claimed I'd entered his property without permission, that I'd tampered with his electrical system and stolen equipment. He'd brought up the power cord from weeks ago. I explained what happened, showed them the footage again, reminded them that I'd already reported everything, filed a noise complaint, and given a written statement. One of the officers nodded. Yeah, we remember you. Looks like this is just retaliation. Is he filing charges? The officer shrugged. He can try, but there's no case here. Just keep your distance. And maybe consider a restraining order if this keeps up. A restraining order. That's how far it had gotten. I nodded and thanked them. Then I went inside, printed the police visit record, and added it to the folder. I wasn't done. Not even close. The folder was thick now. Over 24 entries. Photos, emails, printed complaints, screenshots, timestamps, and 3 different copies of the city's violation notices. I'd stopped calling it a folder. It was evidence. A record of every day Jerry thought he could treat people like trash and get away with it. What he didn't realize is I wasn't just collecting papers. I was collecting witnesses. Mr. Riley gave a statement, said Jerry's music had bothered his wife's health. Another neighbor, Maria, said she'd seen strange visitors coming to the garage late at night. She worked from home and heard the music too. All of it went in. Then one morning I saw Jerry standing on the sidewalk, screaming into his phone. No shirt, no shoes, just pacing back and forth like a man unraveling. He had a paper in his hand. I couldn't make out the whole thing, but I recognized the letterhead. IRS. He threw the paper onto the hood of his truck, and that's when I knew. It hit him. The reports. The fines. The inspection notices. They'd added up. The garage door stayed shut after that. But something else started. Jerry began turning his anger toward the neighborhood. He left trash bags outside Riley's yard. He let his dog crap on Maria's lawn and didn't clean it up. He parked his truck across people's driveways. And then one Saturday, he lost it completely. There was a small neighborhood meeting at the park, a local cleanup effort. I was there, along with half the street. Jerry showed up uninvited, walked straight into the group circle, and shouted, "Hope you're all happy, getting your little hero to turn the city against me."
He was pointing at me.
Everyone froze. "You think you're smart?" he kept yelling. "You cost me over $2,000 in fines. You lied to the cops. You spied on me." Mr. Riley stepped between us. "That's enough, Jerry." But he wasn't done. "I know what you're doing. All of you. You'll regret it." Someone called the cops. Again. By the time they arrived, Jerry had stormed off. But this time, he didn't just get a warning. He got a citation for public disturbance. The officer handed it to him at his front door. This time, Jerry didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just stared down at the paper. And for the first time since I moved in, his garage stayed closed for good. It's been quiet for weeks now. I sleep through the morning without earplugs. I don't check the decibel meter anymore. But every time I pass his house, I feel that same pressure in my chest, like waiting for something to start up again.
He doesn't look at me.
Doesn't look at anyone. And maybe that should feel like peace, but it doesn't. Because the truth is, I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to be left alone. And now that I finally am, all I can think is, why did it have to go this far?